Okay, so it's recording now. Okay, so hello everybody. Yeah, I was a resident of Dhammarato's porch a few years ago before I decided to ordain. Um, and yeah, I've been with Dhammarato for a few years. I think maybe 4 years. Before I started going into monasteries and practicing like that. So yeah, thanks for letting me come on here. I usually don't teach or speak like about the Dhamma on Discord or anything like that. And I live here in Chonburi in a monastery, and yeah, I just live like the normal monk life. Um, Also, if anyone has questions about monk life or ordination and stuff like that, you can ask me. Maybe after. I don't know if that's a good idea during it. I uh, I did pick a theme for today, a sutta, just to like kind of go into and see how it kind of turns out. But yeah, since I don't usually do this, I invite your Kanti with me. With my teaching skills may not be up to par like Dhammarato's, but it's a good practice. So um, yeah. If also I think the format is probably the same since I was on the calls a few years ago. Like I had a big group that I remember I came doing these calls with, and the format was just sort of like open questions. Just, if you want to ask a question. But since it's not Skype anymore, I don't know if there's some signal that I get. Because on Skype, you used to be able to just raise your hand, you know. And I don't know if Discord has that, but just ask a question if you want. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I picked out something that's probably unfamiliar. I mean, a lot of people talk about the first stage of awakening. This word called Sotapanna. It's quite a big word in the Buddhist kind of sphere of things, the community. And what I really appreciate when I first was talking about this and reading about this was how it was kind of reframed, because it's generally framed as like this kind of accomplishment or this kind of like stage to go to, or this kind of place or glamorization of an attainment or title that I think for a lot of us may be something we want. Like we want to be Sotapanna, we want to be that kind of goal-oriented practitioner or some kind of like next level stage of practice, as if this practice and this here now is not good enough. So we want to kind of we fall into desiring for this kind of stage of awakening, which is definitely like when you contextualize it as something, it's just uh, in terms of actual practice, there really is no. You can kind of just like kind of drop that thought, like as something to get or something to go to the next level for to find. In terms of actual practice, you see, like as you practice, there's really nothing to accumulate or gain. It's just a continual uh, process of letting go and seeing how to let go and investigating how you hold on to things and the strain and tension and craving that makes you hold on to things, and to continually cool that down and let that go. So much much lesser known than the four factors of a Sotapanna is the four factors that are conducive, or the actual like four helpful conditions that would bring someone to a much more developed stage of practice. Of course, I think most people would know, like the four factors of Sotapanna would be the generally, let's like translate it as the unshakable faith or confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And also, number 4 is talked about as this kind of virtue, this really like this solid virtue, which is interesting because if you think about virtue uh, that's admirable. Like I would say that's just consistent virtue in terms of consistency. Like when you're confident, you tend to be quite consistent with your the way you are, like of good character. And but that's not exactly what we're going to talk about. So yeah, much lesser known than those 4 factors is the conducive factors to Sotapanna. Like what is helpful, what will help you to develop your practice. Um, and you know, some of these become very apparent living with other monks and in the monastic communities. Wow, like this really makes sense. Like it's really obvious like how essential this is. So the first one is association with noble people, association with good people. And you know, like I know it's nighttime or evening time in America. It's like what, Friday night in America. So I mean, you know, what all the things you could be doing on a Friday night, and all the kinds of people you could be associating with on a Friday night. It's not quite helpful to your practice, but coming on a call like this will be helpful, you know. And
Yes.
yeah, it's very helpful to join these kinds of sanghas on the internet, or staying in a meditation community, whatever that looks like, or just being around people you find are people you were like, oh, this guy is like quality guy. I like this guy, you know, like that. It's generally translated as like a person of integrity. So a person who walks the walk, you know, who who
Mm.
who has the good qualities that you might find like, oh, I kind of want to be like that. But also it sort of falls into that world of it takes one to know one. So you might like recognize your your own wholesome qualities in yourself, and you might see it in other people. Like that's how you sort of recognize other people who are practicing the Dhamma. It's like, oh, like you can see it in other people because you're practicing yourself, so you want to be around that because it sort of uh elevates you both together, sort of say, like, you know, especially people who are also like a bit far ahead of you. Um you're able to be like what kind of like in a way inspired by that, or it gives you a sense of looking at yourself more clearly, you know, when you're around people who are really like straight and out. It's like, whoa, like you get to sort of see yourself more clearly, and that's very beneficial for someone who wants to see the dukkha, you know. It's not like in no longer in that state of like running away from their dukkha, but like I want to know what's going on. I want to see the cause of dukkha. I want to see that noble truth, second noble truth, you know. So seeing people who are really developed is very helpful because you get to sort of straighten yourself out. And I always find that was hard to do when I was in my bedroom. Of course, you can't really see all your own stuff when you're alone, right? So that's why at least the internet sanghas are so helpful for me a few years ago, being because I had no like where I lived. I mean, the Dhamma is like doesn't exist where I was, and so being on the internet was so nice. But you know, like yeah, seeing people having a noble around, having someone who's really straight and around really helps. And the phrase is like there's a phrase that the first monastery I went to, uh, the Ajahn was away. Ajahn Amaro was away. The first monastery I went to was in England, and the abbot was away. And I remember having a comment with one of the monks, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's not always like this, you know. It's kind of a bit loose and wild now." And I was like, "Why is that?" And he was like, "Oh, when the cat's away, the mice play." You know, because Ajahn Amaro was away, and that was kind of alluding to how when there is no nobility around, our qualities, our wholesome qualities, can kind of degenerate a little bit when we're not around other. noble-minded people. We can kind of fall back into our old habits a bit. So it's really helpful to be in Sangha. I mean, it's really, I find it to be essential. And also the Buddha does give like certain criteria for what is a person of integrity. Um, he especially mentions like people to live with someone. How do you know someone who has integrity? Well, that's the difficult thing on being on the internet. And I have, I have said to a few people, like, don't get too invested with people on the internet because it's hard to know who, like the reality of people and how clear things are. But when you live with other people, it becomes clear, like what person, who you should talk to if you have a question or if you have a problem. You know someone by their consistency and integrity, and that's who you should definitely look to ask questions if you're in trouble or having difficulties or wanting to know how to practice. You go to someone who knows because you can see like their qualities in them. There's actually a big list of like this, but yeah, I will link that Ajahn Thanissharo's breakdown of the various strings of the Sotapanna, factors of the leading to Sotapanna. But the second one of the four is hearing the true Dhamma. And the moment I read that, I was like, I immediately thought, like, how do you know you're listening to the true Dhamma? You know, uh,
Yeah.
how do you know that? And that's a very confusing translation. Like, how do you know you're listening to the true Dhamma? Because there's so much Buddhism that uh, uh, is not really related to what is in the suttas. I mean, there's so much sects of Buddhism now, and so much variations of the of the teachings of the Buddha. That how do you first come in contact? You assume this is the teachings of the Buddha. I mean, you see so much Buddhism across the internet. How do you know it's the true Dhamma? Uh, and the Buddha does say here that, like, well, if it's leading to nibbana, if it's leading to dispassion, if it's leading you to calmness and coolness, uh, that's the Dhamma. But often we find a lot of Buddhism is leading is more interested in like having better states. Like you're just interested in finding good states and doing good deeds, and that's all nice. Like that's part of the scope of the Dhamma. But when we look at the uh, in the Majjhima Nikaya 117, we do see the Buddha does like differentiate between ordinary Dhamma and the super mundane Dhamma. So the true Dhamma would be in that scope of, well, what is the Dhamma that leads you to freedom, not just being sort of uh, uh, craving for happiness, for more happiness, for like better states, and not recognizing states are all conditioned. Um, since they're conditioned, they're going to break up. You know, we see that characteristic of anicca. Like these conditions are all fading. These conditions are changing. They're ultimately going to cause dukkha. So the Buddha's the true path of the Buddha is like to be as quite often talked about, to be unbinding, to be not caught up in any state. And so that's the best criteria for the true Dhamma, is leading you to Nibbana, like inclining you, practicing directly to go to Nibbana. Not it's like Buddhadasa would talk about this as you have like good karma, right? Like you would be interested in, how do I make more merit? How do I get, how do I increase my karma? Like that would be in that scope of wanting uh, to feel good, but it's not liberating. And Buddhadasa would talk about that in the sense of neither good nor bad karma. That's the super mundane karma, so to say, like the path of going to liberation, going to freedom. So dispassion would be the first stage of that. Practices that lead you to the dispassion. Practices that cut away your craving, that stop craving, which is passion, right? Lust and aversion and distractions. So those practices that 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 are like directed at that would be the true Dhamma. But yeah, there's a lot of Dhamma that is. To be honest, I'm not really familiar with all the different types of Buddhism, but uh, so I can't really speak too much on like the like Tibetan, just the scope of Mahayana Buddhism and stuff. But I mean, the sutras are quite clear on how what the Dhamma is about and leading one out from being attached, be, seeing the three characteristics, seeing like things that are conditioned ultimately fade away. They're stressful, they're inconstant, they don't last. So craving for things that don't last begins to dawn on you. Uh, that's that's something that needs to be corrected. That's the practice to sort of correct this craving for the world and seeing the world for what it is. Like uh, in the chanting, the monks would often chant. There's this word that comes up in the chants a lot called lokaidu, and that would be one who knows the world for what it is, the knower of the world. Some people think that's like world systems, like, but from how I understand it, it's more like sound, sight, smell, touches, and taste. It's that consciousness and seeing that that's constant. And so the Dhamma is leading us away from this attachment and to peace, the peace of not craving for these things, to be just in the here now. Uh, um, and number three is I would say it sort of deserves its own. It's so sort of talked about that maybe deserves quite a long talk. Uh, before I talk about, does anyone have any questions, or should I just keep chatting on? Okay.
Uh, I have a small question that hopefully is not too complicated. We talk about it being around people that inspires us to practice, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking of like I realized in my life, lay life, there's like two kind of people who like there's wholesomeness in two different directions. Like one is like of course the Dhamma that reminds me that nothing uh nothing is inherently satisfying, like things are not permanent, like it's not self, that kind of thing. It really leads to a lot of peace. But there's also another people whom I'm around with um that basically reminds me of like just a worldly life thing, but in a wholesome way, like
Mm-hmm.
working on getting my finance together, getting my this life together. You know what I mean? And usually like sometimes um I don't know. I feel like I'm complicating it. Like I guess the question is like sometimes it can it be a distraction? I don't know. Like I feel like I'm making a rule.
Wait. So the question is, you have two kinds of people, and one is like, here's the Dhamma, and then another person as well. You have to pay your rent, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Or am I?
both. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I mean, for me, like what I've always found is you can practice Dhamma all the time. Like even when you're dealing with those situations and those people,
right.
like I find you can just always practice the Dhamma and just do what you need to do and constantly see. I mean, we'll actually talk about a little bit about this this quality of having the Dhamma going all the time. Like you realize you don't have to compartmentalize your life like that. Like I have this life and then I have the Dhamma. Like, it's not necessary to do that. Like you can actually just I mean, I find as I was practicing a lot, it sort of just overrides your life in a way. Like it's not that like uh like you
Uh,
live two different lives, but like you can just be in that moment with the right perspectives, the right context, and you see like
right.
pers- maybe person says something and you see your disliking comes up, but you know you have that correct attention. That's you see it all like that from that perspective. Like it's still just sound, sight, smell, touch, and taste. And then you have thoughts about the situation and you recognize it's just another situation. There's no problems. You just do what you need to do. And you say, I don't want to do that. And then you recognize why do you don't want to do that? You see it all, this internal mind in relation to the world. It's still just practice of the Dhamma.
Right.
Um, of
Yeah,
course,
like
there's a balance.
punishment.
Right? There's a balance though, right? Like you want your mind to be quite you want to have time for practice, so when those situations don't come up, you don't want to get caught up because people's stuff comes out and then your stuff comes out, and you want to be making sure that you maintain your correct perspective and not get mixed up. But as you know, I find like uh, as you practice, you definitely make your life a lot more simple. Of course, if you're going to have those responsibilities, um, you're going to have to deal with the responsibilities. So you might want to question like, why do I do this? Why do I do this? Why do I keep seeing why do you do what you do? So if you have
So
like two houses, you have two insurances and two people to worry about. You know, three houses, you got three people. So you can make everything in context of the Dhamma, anything.
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Definitely, it feels like sometimes the compartmentalization is there, but yeah, as you said, like when the practice of Dharma gets simpler, like compartmentalization is not necessary. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it takes time to develop the perspective. It's like it's a practice. You will lose perspective sometimes, and you'll come back to you. You might get really caught up and think a situation is important and recognize it's. I mean, it's just all a bunch of thoughts. There's not really a very important situation, or what a person said, and you're thinking about what they said, and you're getting anxious about what they said or what you said, and you recognize it's not really important. It's all anatta. It's all just a story, and then you see the thoughts, and then you come back to your practice. So it's just a development of the right perspective, keeping the perspective ongoing. Like it, there's no real important story there. The story we make up is just a story we make up, and the moment you see that, you can let go of the story. It's no problem.
Yeah, thank you. One last quick thing is so one thing you said like is like when you're doing it, there is like this sati of like why am I doing this, right? So, but the why am I not doing this is not this neurotic like overthinking. It's just that sort of awareness, if that makes sense, right? That's what you're suggesting,
It's more about seeing where the cause of dukkha is, and what is actually happening. But when
right?
you recognize what's the dukkha, then you can just throw it out. You don't have to like look any further. But it will just come up immediately. But if uh, sometimes you ask the right questions to see what's going on, like why did I do that? But generally that happens. It's kind of a backwards rationalization. When you react to your emotions, you recognize when your sati comes back. Oh, look what I did. Why did I do that? You see, you see, and you bring your attention back. It's not quite like a digging deep into like a story of like, oh, why I did that because when I was 4 years old this happened to me. It's not quite like that. It's more like, well, I fell into my I don't like that about that person. Why? It's like, well, I got caught up thinking it shouldn't be like that. It's already okay. Just remember, it's already okay. Coming back to that uh, freedom from
Yeah,
dukkha right on the spot. It's not like what's it called, like psychological archaeology or anything like that. You're not going deep into the past. It's just more of a put it off on the spot. But if you have to see what you're cutting off, That's the asking the right questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so what I was saying about the third factor of conducive qualities that lead you to Sotapanna, and I was saying that this kind of deserves a bit of elaboration. Yoniso Manasikara. I'm sure some people probably heard of that because it seems to pop up in Buddhism quite a bit, in the Dhamma. Is that generally translated as like wise attention. But the word yoniso, I've seen translated as source, and I've seen the word perspective too. And then you can say attention to the source, attention to the right perspective. And the Buddha does say, like in a sort of a nutshell way, although it really does deserve a bit of elaboration if you really want to sort of get a grip on it. In regards to like um, how is it that the way you see things gives kind of builds up more craving or puts away craving, you know? I think it's talked about well in the second Majjhima Nikaya number 2, the Sabbasava Sutta. I think it's talked about very clearly um, about the unarisen pains that arise and arisen pains that are present, and what do you do, and how does that happen, and what when you become conscious and aware of that, what do you do? And I think about in a very simple sense of feeding or starving, like feeding or cutting off. And so um, it's sort of it always is framed in the Four Noble Truths, because um, if you want to like put it in the sense of, well, what is the way I feel? How do I relate to the way I feel? So it's that kind of wisdom to the way I feel, because if you don't have that kind of awareness to the way you feel, we sort of can just react and allow ourselves to fall into this kind of tendencies we have, these underlying tendencies to chase after pleasant feelings and to just kind of push away anything we don't like, and we don't actually see the consequences of that. But there is a tendency there, right? There's just kind of deeply conditioned instinct to just like gain and lust and, kind of get hot, like sort of passionate about pleasure, even though we don't, see, like actually this really doesn't lead anywhere. In fact, it leads you to dukkha, right? It leads you to a sense of dissatisfaction, because the more you chase pleasantness and pleasure, like you recognize, like the more I do this, the more painful it is, and that's a very interesting experience to be aware of. The more you chase pleasantness from that from from the craving that comes from feelings, more painful it is. That goes to show sensuality is painful. It is not satisfying, and that's one of the first kind of wake up calls to trying to get out of that fear of liking. And the same with disliking. So we talk about wisdom, but where do we put the wisdom? Like where is this panya? This where do we begin to see things? We see things at the point of contact. Sound, sight, smell, touches, and tastes, and the way we think, our thoughts. That's what we're going to see. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at the way the mind, the kind of thoughts the mind has. It's like, oh, I like that. I want more of that. I don't like that. I want to get rid of that. And all the kind of the views, called pancha. It's like thinking about like um, thinking about getting caught up in the story and what happened, of just seeing what instead of just seeing things rising and things passing away. We generally don't accept that. We try to like figure things out, build a story around it, and create a lot of anxiety, even depression, just from the way we think, because we're getting caught up in a story of self. and the story of personality in our lives and other people and us and all the story that goes on there, instead of just seeing reality with contact. Just sounds, sight, smell, touches, and tastes and thoughts, and then you can change the unwholesome thoughts to wholesome thoughts, and it's a very simple practice, but the mind is so fast and habituated that we have to practice that quite a lot, and so uh, making that change, feeding your cravings and kind of uh, uh, restless kind of personality thoughts about me and my life and how important everything is about me, my past, who I was in the past, and seeing like, well, where does that even exist? It's like you look at your body and you say, who was this in the past? It's like certainly that person is not there anymore. And where is the me? And then you think about this, that thought is just another thought. Like this me doesn't seem to have even existential reality. It's just a thought that comes up. But when we buy into it, we tend to get really like emotionally upset. Oh, they said this about me. They criticized me. And also on the same of being praised and being liked, we tend to delight in those pleasant feelings and get a bit attached. And whenever someone criticizes us, we get really hurt, feeling judged, and all this kind of stuff. But who is it that's being praised and who is it that's being judged? It doesn't really have a reality. And that's where this personality view comes in. And when you investigate your five aggregates, and I think it's the second fetter, this Sakya Ditti, you begin to see there's no one there. There isn't there. It's just a thought. But it's so fast and it's so habituated that we have to practice to come out of that into reality. And it brings a lot of calmness and coolness to your mind and your body in regards to the agitation that comes up and irritation about your life, how important it is, and what people say and do. And when that's taken away, it's much more peaceful way of going about life. But I think Yoniso Manasikara should probably be broken down a lot more. But that's basically what is it that feeds your craving, and what is it that cuts away your craving? Essentially, I would say wisdom at the point of contact. What is and that might be better answered by asking yourself what is not wise. What what is it that leads me to uh, unwholesome states? Like what is it I have been doing? And sort of seeing that, aha, I see that, and that's that investigation of the dependent origination. Like you see, there's contact, there's feelings, there's craving, and then there's this clinging, and that's where this me arises. Is that clingingness, that kind of that story begins to arise, and then you're sort of acting on that clingingness, and so that's what that should be sort of looked at quite thoroughly, and you'll you'll begin to see as you are able to maintain your mindfulness without buying in or giving in to that craving that causes the clinging, then quite calm and cool and peaceful. And that grows, that also grows and grows and grows, and your mind begins to settle down. It's like, wow, like this is nice. All this calmness is really nice, and it makes you see things very clearly. So it's that quality of staying calm. But yeah, that might be worth going into more. And the fourth factor is practicing Dhamma in accordance to Dhamma. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada, which is an interesting kind of factor. Practicing Dhamma in accordance to Dhamma, and I've sort of looked into this because I was like, well, if you're practicing Dhamma, what does it mean to practice Dhamma? Why do you need to add in accordance with Dhamma? And there's several viewpoints on it, and I was a little bit like thinking about it myself. How does it work? And it seems to be practicing practicing, it's very similar. I mean, all these things are intertwined, right? These four factors are very intertwined. For example, like you meet the virtuous friend, the Kalaniya Mita. Here in this community, probably Dhammarato for you guys, right? Like you meet a virtuous friend who understands the Dhamma. He causes the stimulation for Yoniso Manasikara, and association with wise people is the Sangha, and then here we have the Dhamma, like our actual practice, practicing in accordance to what we're hearing. So yeah, that's our practice, right? And actually like doing the practice, and that's what I really would emphasize. Like very put very simply, it's just practice, because there's a lot of questions that come up when you don't practice, but when you practice, things become very clear. And even when you practice and you get your mind very calm, even when you hear the Dhamma or you read Dhamma or anything like that, it's very different than when your mind is scattered. So the emphasis really is on just practice, because I really feel like people in general read a lot too much. Just it's very intellectually based rather than being based in practice. And you can practice from the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep. You can start watching your mind immediately, and and putting the Buddhist teachings into practice and seeing how does it transform our heart, seeing the qualities of the heart that grow and the unwholesome qualities that decline. And are they declining? And are they growing? Like, am I becoming less affected by greed, hatred, and delusion? It's hard to measure your practice, there's no pedometer on a watch where you can see how much your greed is falling away day by day. But I think there's a sutta where the Buddha says, like, uh, something like, well, a carpenter doesn't measure the wearing down of his handle day by day, but it is something that it sort of comes in telltale sign. It's like, yeah, wow, that happened, and the last time that happened, I was really like, a little bit pissed off by that, but now I'm quite chill about it, and that's that progression of the practice. And maybe in the scope of people's ideas about progress, it could be like, well, I haven't had any special samadhis in a while. Does that mean my practice is not working? Well, I've been watching my breath for 10 years or 5 years or whatever, and I haven't had any enlightenment experiences, but I'm a little bit more chill. So it's hard to recognize your progress. That's why it's important to stay with the community, and check in time to time with someone who you trust is quite steeped in the Dhamma, living the Dhamma, and just to continue on with the practice and don't worry about the progress. That in many ways it's just another unwholesome thought. It's like, oh, it's not good enough, and it's like you just see all those thoughts and come into that satisfaction of being here right now, and continue watching the mind and just being here. And you don't worry about attaining. I mean, all this talk was about factors that lead you to Sotapanna, but that might just be another object of your desire. And you see that thought, and that's just another unwholesome thought. It's definitely worth talking about. Buddha did outline 4 stages of enlightenment. Full awakening is Sotapanna, Anagami, Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahant. The principle is the same from being ordinary minded, Putajana, until this full awakening. So, you don't have to worry about painting anything. It's like, and you see those thoughts are just unwholesome thoughts. And again, just coming back into the practice of reducing the defilements, putting away the defilements. Uh, I don't know if that's the 4 factors anyway of conducive to Sotapanna. So I would invite any questions if anyone has any questions. Also, questions about monk or anything like that is okay. Any questions you're interested in.
Hey, I have a question, Cathal.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, can progress be lost if you're like if you progress and you become Sotapanna, can you like go back?
There's different views about that. That's I'm not confident I actually understand how to answer that fully, but I've heard different views. But one of the views is yes, you could sometimes you could be a Sotapanna and sometimes you couldn't be. But the Buddha did say unshakable confidence in the Dhamma, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And so, I mean, once you're confident, it's hard to fall out of that, right? Like once you put your hand in the fire, why would you put your hand back in the fire? It's that kind of clarity, right? You've come to this clarity, this perspective of the three characteristics and penetrating the Four Noble Truths. Like you're seeing clearly, oh, craving is dukkha. It's clear, craving is dukkha. And you're no longer perceiving things to be permanent that are impermanent, or building a story and seeing things that are not in your control to be in your control, and things that are inconstant, or excuse me, things that are stressful and dissatisfying and satisfying. Everything is changing, and seeing this clearly is something it's hard to go back on. So the Buddha did say that, it's confidence, real confidence that comes from clarity. But again, like, is that a special experience? Is that a one moment experience? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I would say it's just a buildup of practice. Dhammarato would say it's the first real stage of it is no matter how obstructed your mind gets, you could throw that out right now. And that's something I found to be continually clear to me in my practice. I've just been progressively over the years been getting better at doing that. It's definitely not perfect, but it's definitely getting much more clear of, this is unwholesome, throw this out, and continue having wholesome thoughts, developing those qualities of being in the here now, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, and whatever obstruction, whatever hinders you from being satisfied right now, you can throw that out, and then that confidence grows until you're very clear without much of a questioning yourself. Like you just know, like, oh, I can throw this out. These situations, so what? So what? That's that quality of so what comes up. Like you don't feel adverse. You're not scared of things. The fear in the heart reduces. The greed reduces. You're already okay. It becomes clear. It's not a concept. It's not an abstract idea of being okay. It's like you're beginning to experience that from your practice. That's what I would say. But I think I've it's the thing about listening to different ajahns and different teachers. For example, Ajahn Suchart in the monastery I'm in talks about Sotapanna being a stage of which, when you're met with a life or death situation, how do you react to the body being yours, for example? So there's different ways to look at it, there's different perspectives, but ultimately they all add up in seeing things to be not yours, things to be inconstant, things to be stressful, having that clarity and staying free from dukkha. And there's a perceivable difference. I mean, it's very clear there's a perceivable difference. And I tell you, with meeting senior monks, there's a perceivable difference between someone who actually has been practicing for many years. The difference in their character, and the difference in how they experience life, because they understand what is causing dukkha and what is not causing dukkha. It's clear. But I guess that's the best way I can answer it.
Would it be um, the thought that whether my practice will go backwards and if my progress can be lost? Wouldn't that be an unwholesome thought? Like trying to keep something good that we got?
Yeah, I think there's a reasonable moment of questioning that, because sometimes you might just have got bad instructions and you've been practicing for a long time, or you're getting nowhere. I mean, there's a reasonable time to question yourself. But generally speaking, like, it's probably an unwholesome thought. Yeah, like, it's clinging. It's a thought of clinging. It's trying to hold on to something that is changing. It's a condition. It's gonna break up. But I think there's a good time to question. Well, I haven't, I'm still really affected by things, and I've been practicing for years. Like, what's going on? But I think overall, at most of the time, I would say like 90+% of the time, it's like that's just another thought of gain, greed, wanting something to be better.
Yeah.
Stress. I would say it's remorse, worries, and remorse. Is my practice declining? It's hard to know. Sometimes it's hard to know. You don't really know what direction you're going on until certain things happen in your life. It's like you don't see the grass. You don't really look at your body and be like, whoa, look, I'm so different than yesterday. Or generally even when the springtime, when spring comes, you don't see spring until like, whoa, like spring has really come. That's what I feel like the Dhamma progression in a Dhamma is like. Brightness of the heart, the brightness of the chitta becomes more clear. Like, you're becoming more happy, more satisfied, more friendly. Like, those qualities are clear, and you're seeing that change. In fact, I'd say it's other people that notice that in you rather than yourself. So I say you're spot on in the sense of, yeah, it's probably just another unwholesome thought, but I think there's sometimes good measurement, good grounds for questioning that. But yeah.
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
When the thought comes, I'm not making any progress, that's an unwholesome thought.
Yeah.
Period. That's an unwholesome thought. And along with that, I'm not making any progress has the quality I've got someplace to go. And changing that to the wholesome thought of, there is no place to go. This is good enough. If you've already arrived, where are you going to go? Why do you want to act better? That's in fact a way of thinking about the difference between the gradual and the immediate path. The gradual path is wanting to make progress and thinking that we're not making any progress, which is an unwholesome thought. Changing
Mm-hmm.
that to the wholesome thought of good enough. That's what makes the path immediate. You become enlightened right then and there. And that's what we practice. We practice not to get enlightened. We practice be enlightened. Are we practicing because we are enlightened? When we're practicing, this is it. This is good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think you answered your own question, RJ. It is, you can just remember it is an unwholesome.
Yeah.
It it is just wanting things to be different, like Dhammarato says. Thank you, Dhammarato. So that's why we need a noble person in the Sangha. You always need someone to make sure things are straight. I find that very true also in the monastic community. It's like when the senior monk's away, it's like everyone starts to like slowly bubble up. Chit chatter goes on slowly. One guy says one thing, another guy says another thing, and then suddenly it's like that. I don't think there is a Sangha without a noble person. I don't think there is really a Sangha without nobility, and that's quite clear on the internet too, I find, in internet communities. Without nobility, there is no. It's all quite unwholesome in general and not clear. So we're quite lucky to have that. So does anyone have any other questions? Sorry if the talk was a bit short, by the way. Like, I appreciate people being patient because it's like my first talk and maybe like, I don't know how long I've been here, maybe 2 years, but I never, I haven't done a talk. Yeah.
Maybe, or I can. You began. One of them was, the real Dhamma is the right not Dhamma when you feel relaxed and chill. So during your entire talk, I had those exact feelings. So thank you for a wonderful talk. Something in my practice I could use a hand with. So I feel like there's so many moments where I spot the dukkha and I can kind of open my hand, let it drop, and it goes. But then I feel like there's like sticky dukkha, or sometimes I sense like the dukkha gets like a lawyer, like it adopts a lawyer and says like, no, this one is actually, and it
Yeah.
often comes up. I think if I have like a loved one who is in a tough position. So for example, I have some close friends who have like their relationships and families are like breaking up, or I have a friend who's in kind of like lives in kind of a place who's having some military things going on and is feeling a lack of safety. And so it's like the lawyer for the dukkha is showing up and being like, oh no, this one's different. This, like, those
Hmm.
other ones were okay to drop, this one's important. So I would love some help to help, like, I don't know, do I really shake it off, or how can I dissolve that sticky dukkha?
I feel like if you see it as dukkha in that moment, it's already good enough. But I think like sometimes things seem more serious than other situations. Things really seem, oh, this is serious and that's not serious. But I think if you see those thoughts in your mind and you see it as all those previous thoughts, like, oh, that's clearly dukkha, that's clearly dukkha. I'm not sure if that's dukkha or not. That's quite normal, I find. You're still not sure, but if you're becoming aware that it's just another unwholesome thought, then you just throw it out like all the other thoughts, and the extra sense of not being sure is just a hindrance, the hindrance of doubt. That's the way our mind hinders us. It's generally we don't see it clearly, but after some time you see it clearly. But if you see it on the spot, then it's not really a hindrance, right? But that's how the practice generally goes. Like you once you see the hindrance, it's no longer a hindrance. Coming out of the hindrance is that practice. Once you see it as not, it's okay.
Yeah, that makes,
So it's
you're
not
right.
really
The
a
lawyer is, the lawyer is doubt, right? The lawyer represents doubt. I think that's a great
yeah.
insight. Thank you so much.
The more you go into the practice, uh, I would like the way you say sticky. It is a bit. It is like it is. It's just generally we have expectations, or we're like we're not really sure what's happening. But if you just remember, this is a hindrance. This is an unwholesome thought. It's that ability to see and just come out of that, come out of that, come out of that. Eventually, the mind becomes clear. That's that samadhi. Really, it's not that you are trying to focus or anything or get to a new place, but it's just the removal of the hindrances into clarity. I always just think about like the sun dawning through the clouds or something like that. Like you're just removing the clouds. You're not trying to do anything else. You're not trying to focus in, trying to find the sun. You're just removing the clouds in your own mind. Like those are the hindrances. But sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes you get hindered. That's why call hindrances, right? Like the Buddha recognized like these are five susceptible thoughts to being hindered by. But once you see it, it's no problem. It's just more sati, having more mindfulness, more practice. You see it more and more and more.
Can I share a little bit of my experience with similar things?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like everybody, I also face this things that, repetitive thoughts of something. It can be something I have to do in the future or some situation that's not great. And there is a lawyer that talks like, oh, you need to pay attention to this. This is important. So, and that does have some importance, but so to this lawyer, the right sentence works against this lawyer. And one of the sentence I remember from Dhammarato, that if I have to go to the bank, you can go once, at most twice before you actually go there. You don't have to keep going there. It doesn't have. So this thing worked for me. Like if something is
Mhm.
not going well, I can think about it once, twice, but then I've got a good sentence that, oh yeah, I did it already twice. So the lawyer kind of listens to it.
Oh yeah, that's really good actually. Yeah, like there's, of course you have to make plans and stuff, right? But once you've made your plans, if your mind keeps bringing up the plan, it's like, okay, that's clearly like, just throw that out. And once you're getting your train at 7 o'clock tomorrow, that's your train at 7 o'clock tomorrow. But then all the other thoughts, it's clearly just anxiety, anxious, dukkha, scattered thoughts. And you just throw that out. That's a good reminder. Yeah, there is a wholesome point of reflecting on the past and planning for the future, but there's a tipping point, obviously, where it's just papancha. It's just you're getting lost in your mind. But like if you don't reflect on your past, how are you're gonna keep making the same mistakes, right? And if you don't plan, of course you need to do a bit of planning. Even monks need to plan a little bit, but not much. It's a nice thing about being a monk. There's not much planning, but sometimes, you have to go out, get your glasses repaired or something. But it's very rare. But yeah. Anyone else?
Um, yeah. So my question is, how do you know? Well, I, feel, okay, I know. I think I know the answer. It's just like how do you know when something is papancha, when something is not papancha, and all those kind of thing. And I know this is why we have to keep having sati, keep taking a look. Not sure, because like just now you were saying like asking the right question, and it really resonate with me because like I see the like the symptom, right? Like one thing I really like about the Buddha Dhamma, which is the second noble truth, is that it goes directly to the cause. If you can see the cause of dukkha and you drop that right then, like it's just easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know that's why we practice because sometimes it's like, okay, I think this is the cause, and but apparently I was just distracted. It's just papancha. It's it's that's my question actually. Like,
Uh,
why sometimes I think this is a cause, but it's not. That's just a symptom.
yeah. I mean, I think when you see it and you have that sati call, that's just the only time you can see it. Until then, you're in it. That's that. That's that quality. Well, you could say quality of avijja is until you have that moment of sati, you're sort of caught up in that, and that's that's the whole point of practicing the Eightfold Noble Path, practicing anapanasati, is that you're bringing this sati to this flickering on and off, to this remitting kind of, it's on and it's off, and you're caught up and you're lost up until it's very nice and stable, secure, and until it's an enlightenment factor. And you can't, you can't speed that process up. You're caught up in your mind, and then you remember that you're just caught up in your mind. That's all. It can make the practice very simple like that. The papancha would be, oh, why was I caught up in my mind? Like that where things can get very like mentally, like you can really go in what's the phrase, like go down the rabbit hole. There's no need for that. Like you can just throw it out. You don't have to figure out where it comes from, or like don't have to go and like, was this from a past life or any of those kinds of thoughts. You can just throw it out right there. And it's good enough because you'll see that's all that's necessary. again, like when it comes to planning and when it comes to like reasonable thoughts about what like tomorrow, let's say at 6 o'clock, I need to get a ticket. Like there's a reality to that, but you really see like there is a reality, and then there's the mind, and you see that relationship very clearly. There's no need to add more thoughts, so you can keep your mind empty, keep emptying it out, but do what you need to do. Because also there's a weird view of like never thinking about anything, and these kinds of weird, wrong misinterpretations of the noble right effort. For example, no effort is the right effort, and it's like, yeah, well, until you put all the right effort in, and then it's no effort. You know, I had that conversation like recently about that, and that's when your effort becomes an enlightenment factor, when it's virya, when it's energetic. There's no need for the effort, but up until then, you have to continually practice and practice and practice, and then it becomes easier. But up until then, yeah, you may be falling into those thoughts. Why did this happen? And that's all to do with that ayoniso manasikara, that unwise attention. It's like, what was I in the past? Where did this come from? Like, no need for that. Just throw it out, and you're right back to reality, right back to here now. Thank you.
One thing, actually, that just came to mind is a personality view. In Sotapanna, one of the fetters is self-views dropped, right? Self-view seems like at a Sotapanna, there's like a level of emptiness that's pervasive, but the view of self seems less sticky, and in the opposite way. So as somebody's walking and they're doing stuff, the view that they are doing this seems stickier until there's enough dukkha where, like, wait, the view itself of I'm doing this is actually painful. It's like a gradually boiling the frog. But it doesn't seem as pervasive as the things are empty. There's less stickiness to like emotions and feelings, but the view itself of I'm walking around doing stuff, that one doesn't seem as natural as the other one. And I was just looking at the other fetters too. And Arahat is the fetter of dropping the attachment to form, attachment to like desire for a self to like last and all that. But this is even just basic view of, oh, he's attacking me personally, versus there's somebody saying something and the body doesn't like it and it gets hot and reactive and dropping there. That doesn't seem as sticky. And I don't know if that's more that the other fetters weaken gradually, or is the dropping of self-view is like much clearer early on.
Wait, you're saying when you're doing something that you seem like there's a person, like you really feel like I am, the I, sense of I is strong.
Yes,
And
and
when
it has a
people talk,
feeling, a taste to it. But then when you flip it and you know it's almost like a reverse looking, it's like, oh yeah, the body's walking, the body's being, but
yeah.
that doesn't, like a Sotapanna, that doesn't seem like it's noticeable. It's noticeable that, oh, there's a clear difference. Where before there's never you being able to like perceive yourself in like a object, like your body's not your body, but later on as the practice deepens, it feels like you're kind of going between this in and out, and it doesn't I don't know, it doesn't stick as much, the perception that this is just the body still. Maybe because as a layperson, there's more doing. So it's, as I'm sending email, messaging, jumping around, it's, you're a doer person until like there's a pause and you're like, oh, the body's tight, the body's tense, I'm sitting here. So it's that just like back and forth view seems it keeps bouncing back and forth. I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of it's Sotapan and Sakaragami and Nanagami,
I
how
think
that
Dhammarato
affects
will answer this.
Dhammarato.
Yes, Errol, you answered your own question early, and that let me repeat it for you. And that is that it's taking things personally. For instance, you can be out on a walk and you can just see what's there or watch where you're walking, but then you stumble. And that's when the self comes up. In other words, when we feel bad, it's the self that feels bad because we do take things personally. A joke about that is in the mafia that they take the guy on a ride out into the wilderness, shoot him to kill him. And then they say, well, don't take it personally. It's just business. All right. So that's the whole point of the Dhamma is don't take it personally. It's just business. Even if you're getting killed, that's it. Don't take it personally. And that's a good way of looking at it. All right. I also use the word selfishness. That when we're acting selfishly, that's the self. And a lot of times people are not acting selfishly. A lot of times you're not taking it personally. But when you do, it hurts. And
That
that's
makes
the
sense.
whole
So
point. Don't take things personally because when you do, it hurts.
it kind of
An
reminds me,
example is you got to go do something. You got to go to the bank. You got to go to school. If you take it personally, it's painful. But if you don't take it personally, you just do the business. Just taking care of business.
that makes sense. What I was just thinking actually, as I'm walking, if I trip and fall and I hurt my leg, I'm like, oh, I was like, oh no, my leg. That's me at that
You,
moment,
precisely it.
jarring
That's
like,
when we take it personally. You can take a walk, but then when you stumble and hurt your leg, now you're taking it personally. Oh, poor me. It really is that
and then you come
simple,
out
and
of
yet
it.
it's one of the most confusing things in Western Buddhism is about this issue of self because we don't have the right language. But if we start using the right language like selfishness or don't take it personally, then that makes it really clear.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it has a very like instant uh feeling to it, almost like a slight anesthetic, where if I am viewing I am self, I hurt my leg, it hurts a lot. Oh, the leg hurts, I tripped. The pain, there's like a, because I'm looking for gradients, because gradients help me like distinguish dukkha faster. But Dhammarato, I think when you had an accident and you fell off your bike, I think you like got up and you looked at your leg and he was like, oh, the leg is all mangled and messed up, but oh well. Right? You didn't even like feel any like I don't know if you, I mean you felt pain and stuff, but
Well, that would
if
be it.
that's
The pain, then, you see, if you watch somebody else fall off their bike and you see them hurt, injured, but you don't feel the pain. But when you feel their pain, you're taking it personally. Another example is you look out the window and the car is on, then you realize it's your car. That's when you get all upset. You go around the car and you. There's a difference between a leg being injured and my leg is in pain. I'm hurt. And the Buddha is teaching us, don't take it personally.
so would you say then Dhammarato, looking at the moments when something happens and you take something personally, and those moments of gaps where you forget that happens, that's like really good practice.
I didn't catch that last thing.
Well, I was thinking like it seems like if I forget that I opened the door, I walked through a door, and now self view and there's like personality view and all that. There's dukkha. It's the moment when I lost the view of I took something personally is what I should be monitoring for, because I feel like that's the one that is very easily slips out of attention.
Yes. Let's go back to the door. All right. And how many times have everybody here just opened the door, turn the knob, open the door, and walk right through? What happens when you turn the knob and the latch doesn't release and you can't walk through? That's when the selfishness comes. I want to go through the door. Or another one is, oh no, now repair the door. Many people have that. In fact, that's the whole point about a paranoid. That word paranoid means that they think that the world is actually out to get them. They take everything personally. And if you don't take anything personally, it's easy. Cat, I'm going to give it back to you, but don't take it personally.
I was just thinking, like, if you ask yourself, how often do you think about other people? And how often are you like really concerned with other people? You see, it's really not probably too much. So when we have like really inflated thoughts about me, what do people think about me? Oh, how am I being perceived? Do people like me? It's just all, you know, it's all in the mind. It's all just dukkha. or what
Can I ask
happens around
that?
you in your surroundings, you know, like what people did. If, oh, was that about me? Was that directed towards me? Like this, that's what we have to watch out for with our mindfulness. The story. Yeah, sorry, was someone talking?
Gigi, go ahead.
Yes. Hello. Hello, Sangha. I'm so grateful that I get to ask this question here with you and the incredible experience everyone brings here, especially the bhikkhus. So every week I come and I usually ask a question around relationships and Sangha. And so I'm going to ask it again here. Dhammarato has been really incredible at teaching me how to gladden the mind, how to think wholesome thoughts. And so I've been trying to put that towards, relationships and how I approach relationships. And I've been waiting for a moment that's going to be challenging. And so I found one yesterday. And so I would love to bring this example here of not taking things personally. So we say not to take things personally, but what I observe when I watch master teachers is that they have incredible boundaries. One, I notice that if a student is out of alignment or out of alignment in their respect or anything, the teacher just goes psh, with their sword, right? It's like, hey, what are you doing? Stop that right now. And so even if they don't take things personally, there's obviously something there that's constantly setting things straight. And so yesterday in the Sangha, in a Sangha group that we were having, there was this one woman who kind of seems to have these like little undercutting remarks after I speak, like after it's my turn to speak and then it's her turn to speak. There seem to be these remarks. And I've not mastered yet just being so immediate in my ability to say, hey, is this what's going on here? Is this what you're saying? And I tend to just kind of go quiet. So I understand that. I understand that I'm not yet speaking up immediately.
That's a good point, is that when she makes that cutting remark, you take it personally.
Absolutely.
But
It
if
hurts.
she said that to someone else, you might in fact be that master teacher and tell her just to shut up. But you
You're
go
breaking
quiet
up,
because
Dhammarato.
she got you.
Okay, I think breaking up a little bit, but I think maybe what you were saying is, oh man, I don't know. Can somebody maybe re-say it for me?
Don't take it personally. You're taking it
Okay.
personally. Just keep remembering not to take it personally.
I
Okay,
think
but
he was
Because
okay,
you're
so
also
being aware of that. If you're aware of it, that's already such a big step from reacting to it. But you still need to put that effort into it, because there's something we get out of reacting. Like we get that little hit, you know, that uppercut. We like to fight back actually, but there's no need for that. Just drop it because it's dukkha.
yeah,
If you see it,
okay.
you
I
just
guess
drop it.
what
It's
I'm
okay.
saying is that I'm used to not saying anything back because I'm trying to be
Ah,
detached, but that doesn't seem to actually w- be a good thing. And what I've noticed about other masterful teachers is that they usually just nip it in the bud right there. They're not scared to do that. I
Ah, they're
know.
not afraid. That's another hallmark of taking it personally, is because we're under attack. But the ones who can nip it in the bud are not under attack. They see the attack, but they're not under the attack.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. Right, exactly. And so how do I do that, Dhammarato?
Well, remember next time to not take it personally.
God damn it. All right.
In fact, the word that I will often use, you miss me.
You what?
the arrow shoots right by, zing, and then I say, "You missed me.
You missed me. Got it.
You missed me. You
Yeah.
didn't hit me."
Got it. That feels good. Yeah, I could feel that in my body. Okay. I'll keep
But when you
practicing.
take it personally, that means you are the target. You let them hit you.
Got it. It's
One thing I
it's like
was
when you
thinking of
said,
is
Mara, good try.
Dhammarato, I
one thing
have a follow-up
I've
question
noticed
on
is for
this.
a personality view, just real quick on that, is when I know like at work somebody has a certain attitude towards me, it's always the same. I wait for the person to say something, and then I wait. Am I gonna get upset? So I'm watching myself to like, okay, so the person is gonna say something after I say something. Now I know I'm gonna feel this way, react this way. So I'm like watching, almost like there's a third person. It's not just them and me.
I got
But
that
now it's
part
like,
down pat. Yeah, I got that part down pat. It's just everything else that comes after that that I don't have down pat.
if it's any consolation, that's in terms of like practice. That's probably like gold. I don't think you could watch in real time. That's like a week's worth of meditation retreat. Uh, Almost like playing chess with as somebody's gonna say something, you're already prepared for it. You watch your body react. You watch your feelings arise in real time. You want to say something. It's almost like, yeah, it really feels like a week's worth of meditation, just, of
Yeah.
leveling up.
Right. It's just understanding like right action from there on. The mindfulness of it is there. It's just understanding the right action and then having the courage in my body to also do it without feeling like I'll be rejected for it. So it's like a whole bunch of things and not taking it personally, letting that arrow fly by me, then straight through me.
But I don't think blocking yourself from feeling that, because that is back to personality view in a way. It's almost like if you're gonna feel angry and upset, I don't want to feel angry and upset. So you want to defeat her. Is that second arrow instead of letting it happen and then watching it and then like, oh, it wasn't that bad. But
You're both
second
saying the same
personality
thing with
stuff.
different words. You're both saying the same thing with different words. Gigi, you're saying rejected. It's only the self that can get rejected. If there is no self, then there's no possibility of being rejected. The same thing, Harold, with you when you get angry and upset. That's the self that gets angry and upset. If there's no self, how can one get angry and upset? So rejection and or anger are two ways that this personality will deal with attack.
Dhammarato, may I just say something about that? I actually had to learn how to allow myself to be angry and upset, because what I would do before is that I would say, being angry is not a wholesome thought, being upset is not a wholesome thought, so I will just not take it personally. But what that actually did was it would amplify the other person's actions instead of me nipping it in the bud. So that's what I'm trying to understand now is so I did actually have to go through what Errol is saying, is I had to allow myself to feel angry and upset so that I could show up in a different way in the Sangha. So I could be more of a leader than just someone who kind of like didn't know how to be in those situations.
All right, here's something then. The next time that this happens, you guy in a very happy voice. Acknowledge that they got you. Acknowledge that you feel rejected, but also don't let it affect you. In other words, you that selfishness right there. You got me.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dhammarato. I so
Aha,
deeply
I
appreciate
see
it.
you. Mm-hmm.
See you, Mara.
So
You're right.
see that selfishness and cut it right then.
Dhammarato, can I have a follow-up question on this?
All right.
So, like this, I also face, like, in fact, very recently in big family gatherings, something similar happened, and they're common. So, and the self rises very fast, and in fact, I realized that if I'm away from Sangha and too much into those gatherings, like I kind of get drowned in those same things also. But just for the small part, would it be correct to say that whether I ignore it or I take action against it uh, will automatically happen correctly if I'm able to take care of my thoughts and feelings? And then, for example, if I have a window in house and some, let's say, cold wind is coming from there, there is no one to be angry about, and if it's not too much bothersome, I could ignore it. But if it is causing me problems, I'll probably go and close that window. But I won't feel bad. So even though the other guy is a person, and then now my mind thinks differently, but he could be just like that window. I may or may not need to take care of that person, but more of my feelings and thoughts. Does this make sense? I tried to think like this recently.
It's about going back to the point about, aha, you got me. There's a recognition that you did experience selfishness. You did take it personally. But that recognition that you took it personally by putting back the joy in it, that means that you're cutting that personality view right then. You got me.
Mhm.
In other words, you're closing that window. Aha, that's a cold chill, and you close the window.
Yeah.
So you see it, you acknowledge it. The same thing with the Buddha when he would have an unwholesome thought. He would say, I see you, I see you, unwholesome thought.
Yeah. So this is what we do inside, and this is the main part. But outside, whether we close that window like outside with physical action or we leave it open is probably not that important, I guess.
Right. It's not really the window, it's your reaction to the window.
Mhm.
And so you acknowledge that reaction. Oh, that's a cold wind. Or in Gigi's case, you got me. That acknowledgement takes all the power out of it. It takes the selfishness right back out. Which,
Right.
Kat, remember that was exactly the advice that I gave to you when you were thinking about I had to go deal with those monks.
Yes.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
I was wondering if Kat would share a story from Sangha, because we all don't get to have those experiences much, like a monk would have. But any stories within the same vein?
Uh, not really that much different than what you guys are talking about. It's very relatable. It's just keep practicing on it, that kind of reaction the self begins to reduce more and more, because you see how irrational this like inner tyrant is, and it just let go, and it calms down more and more and more over time. But I think being in a monastic community, it's very clear that that's all internal, because the monks are so noble and so straight now. And you see, this is very internal. It's all our reaction. It's all the self, which is it's just coming up. It's not yours, and that's the quality of anatta. You just keep letting go. It's not really a specific stories, just me getting like, oh, just what shouldn't be like this, and why did he say that? And he didn't say anything, that kind of stuff. It's not that different. The monks, though, in generally are actually, what they do is they don't really confront you. Like I think you mentioned that there is a teacher that goes around with a sword, and there are definitely places like that. But actually, quite often in the Thai community, it's not quite like that. It's more subtle. They're a lot more gentle, a lot more kind, in the sense of they don't trigger your ego very much. They say it in different ways. They say the same thing, but in a different way, in a much more passionate way. Like they're not saying, "Oh, you stop doing that." It's more of a no. For example, I would maybe bring something up to my kuti. The monk wouldn't say to me, "Hey, you should stop. Don't bring that up to your kuti." He would be like, "So, are you bringing that up to your kuti?" It's just that change, but the message is still the same. You see, it's like it's the it's the quality of being kind of kind, but aware that we do need to make a change, but we don't need to beat each other up about making a change. We don't have to fix anybody. It's just an internal thing. So it's just seeing that over and over, and then come a lot more calm.
So, Gigi, going
Mhm.
back to that point, how you got me. That's what we Kat and I are talking about is that uh, the senior monks are very subtle and often will ask you a question rather than telling you don't do that. And that's in that same regard for you to say, aha, you got me, other than going into an argument with that woman who made a catty remark. You acknowledge her catty remark without it being a put down of her.
Mm.
Yeah, where I'm almost like being self-deprecating with the catty remark that she just said, saying, "Oh, you got me," in
Yeah,
the
I wouldn't
yeah,
call that a self deprecating remark. I would say that that's an ego bust.
a
You
ego
got me.
a ego bust. Yeah.
Also, you could also see it as pointing out the dukkha for everyone to see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Everybody can see it right then and there. You got
Mm-hmm.
me.
Oh, hi.
Hey, thanks for having me. Everybody, who here is a Sotapanna? Who here is a Sotapanna? Have you attained stream entry, Cathal?
I
Don't
can't
answer
answer that
that
question.
question. That's a not appropriate question.
Yeah.
One thing one thing this is gonna sound contradictory, but I guess it's the view of it. Is the reason for practice is to, at least to me, it's I'm here to gain something in a very selfish and direct way, and to practice like the hair's on fire. Like this is urgent, immediate, and extremely beneficial and quenching.
Yes.
The practice
That
is
aha,
what
you got me has to be said immediately. You cannot wait 10 minutes and go to her and say, oh, you got me.
Right,
you say it
exactly, Dhammarato. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Right. And yeah, and I like freeze in the moment because I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
But even for like Dhammarato, I'll listen to him speak for like an hour or some of the older videos. It was 3 hours, and then he would have said something in there, and I would just turn the video off. I'm like, I found the thing that was stuck that was stopping me from entering jhana. I'm like, I don't need Dhammarato right now. I'm just gonna go and do my own thing. I'm only here for one thing, and how to quickly get the fruit of the Dharma, the Magaphala, and what view is blocking that. Because then what I noticed after was friendship and good people and noble come with the Dharma on their own as the practice deepens. But I remember I was even in retreats. I was very selfish. I didn't even know who those people were. I would just go in my own like kuti out in the woods while everybody was at the main center, and for like 15 days, go in and out. Nobody knew who I was. I was like, I don't need to know those people. I don't know who you are. I'm not here to make friends at the time, but it was to gain something in a selfish way for me, and that everything else then dropped away in terms of importance. Like if somebody did say something, I was like, okay, well, I'm not here to like, I don't know who they are. Like if they want to be a jerk and all that, I'm here to learn how I can focus as I'm walking. So it's kind of like a very selfish way and very driven.
All right, in that
Like,
kind of way, that kind of selfishness would be called wholesome in the sense of protection of that hurt self. Think of the hurt self, the one that the Buddha is talking about, is like a 2-year-old tyrant. And the 2-year-old tyrant don't like you making catty remarks. That's the unwholesome, selfish. But you're using the word selfish in a different way. But in fact, the Mahayana often will criticize the Theravada for being selfish. But the selfishness that Kat and I are talking about is actually quite healthy, even if other people see it as selfish. In other words, it's possible that if you say, you got me, that woman may say you're being very selfish, but in fact, actually what you're doing is you're eradicating that painful 2-year-old self. So you could say there's a difference between an adult self and a pain 2-year-old.
And you're talking about the 2-year-old in me or the 2-year-old in her or the both of us? Oh my.
Well, you don't have to fix her, so don't worry about her. We're talking about the 2-year-old selfish little girl in you that didn't like her catty remark.
Right.
But by saying, aha, you got me, you're acknowledging that little 2-year-old and also destroying it at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're acknowledging it. She got you.
And that's different, obviously, from what I'm saying about when I see masters like yourself, Dhammarato, when someone is not in alignment or someone just does something a little idiotic I could also sense when you're sensing someone's maybe just being a little disrespectful or something, and I could tell that you just immediately nip it in the bud. you know? So in that sense, you're not taking it personally, but you are what? Like, would you fill in the blank for us so we could understand it from your point of view?
Uh, let us say that we're seeing it as real. We're seeing the reality that, in fact, it's often their selfishness.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And that would be
Uh,
exactly what you would do when that woman gives a catty remark. You're cutting her, you're nipping it right in the bud when you say, "Ah, you got me."
yes. But in a sense, what you're saying also to me is that because I still, which is true, I still, that part of me that still takes it personally or feels that little heartbreak, that you got me is also acknowledging the wound, is also acknowledging the child in me that's still taking it personally, which is very beautiful.
Exactly. And maybe
Mhm.
after you do that 2 or 3 times, the next time you can say, "I see that."
Mm.
In other words, I didn't get you this time. I see it.
Mm.
That's being
Oh.
real Buddha. That's I see that.
Ooh. Yeah. These are the teachings I'm looking for. Thank you so much.
See that.
Ooh, all right. I'll work on it. Thank you so much.
Don't work on it. Just do it.
It just seems to be a process of unraveling, first unraveling the one that takes it personally to get to the point of being able to go, yeah, saw that, heard that, got it. Boring.
Do you know the story of the Gordian knot?
I've never heard of it.
Way, way, way back in ancient times, there was a long rope that was tied up in a really huge, complicated knot, very much like a fishing line gets complicated in a knot. And the story was is that nobody can open this knot. Nobody can unravel it. It's very much like the sword and the stone of King. And Gordian came, took out his knife, and he cut right through that Gordian knot. He did not
Those
try to
Alexander the Great
unravel it.
Dhammarato.
He just cut through it. And that's what I'm suggesting that you do is instead of unraveling this thing, you can cut right through it by saying, "Ah, you got me." Or better still, I see that.
Thank you, Dhammarato. I got it. Thank you.
You got it. Exactly. So, Kat, are you finished? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take over. That
Well,
wasn't what I wanted to do.
I was happily listening to you, so I don't mind at all. Well, I suppose it's over if no one else has any questions. It's up to your Sangha if anyone wants to ask something, or we can go back to practice, or whatever you do.
Just one question or like incident I want to ask about. So I have a 10-year-old daughter and a son, 14. So I try to kind of teach them Dhamma, not teach them like in small things. I try to put them, you know, kind of to relax and things like that. So we were talking about fear, and I was telling like you don't have to fear things like studies or anything. Even if studies are not done well, it's fine. So my daughter told me like that I should just have one fear of fears, and I found it interesting. So like we don't need any of the fear. So yeah, she came up with this fear of fears.
There is
And
actually an old saying that came out of World War II. I think it was Roosevelt who said it, either he or Churchill. But one of them said, the only fear is self. In other words, always be afraid of being afraid. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, why don't you take this thing and run with it?
All right. Well, thank you, friends, for being here today. Y'all are welcome to stay, chat, enjoy each other's company. And if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and check out the video description where you can join us here on the Dhamma Friends Discord server. We also invite you to check out Dhammarato.com, where we've got over 1,000 transcripts transcribing these talks. And also check out OpenSanghaFoundation.org, where we've got things like our Sangha map, books by Buddhadasa, and many other fun things to play with. So yeah, you can listen to these talks as well on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcasting platforms. And remember to take it easy, take care, and don't worry, be happy.
You want to talk? You want to
Thank you.
mention to stay on?
Yeah, y'all are welcome to stay on. Yeah, keep chatting, it's okay. But yeah, we'll end the recording here.
Thank you all, but thank you especially, Cathal. Thank you very much. You did a great job today.
Thank you, Dhammarato. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Thanks, Kat.
Thank you.